detective thrill me.
When we talk about the Friday the 13th franchise, I think it's fair to say that most films have a moment or two that you would class as, what the hell was that? And that goes all the way back to the original. So I thought we'd take some time now, fellas, and go through each film and find those what the fuck moments. But Jared, before we get started, mate, I believe you'd like to bring up some timeline inconsistencies with the series. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we thought it was worth a mention. If we're doing the definitive breakdown of the series, you have to mention the timeline because, quite frankly, it's all over the shop. And even when you sort of look into it, there's differing accounts and debate on what's going on anyway. So I've just sort of run with some notions here that were put together on a couple of internet sites. So part 1 takes place in 79 supposedly, although the dates apparently match 1980, so there's a little bit of a toss up there, and that's where the inconsistencies begin. It's then mentioned in part 2 that Alice is killed 2 months after what went on in the original, so that New York business is supposedly 2 months after the end of the first one.
Okay.
And then the camp in part 2 is a 5-year gap, apparently.
Okay, so it's 5 years, 2 months since Mrs. Voorhees has had her head cut off. Is
5 years. Well, I think it's 5 years. So I think the 2 months is within that 5 years. Don't quote me on this. I'm just dribbling at the moment.
So does that mean it's been 5 years since he was the little child we saw drowned to, like, you know...
Yeah, so
bearded Jason.
This is where the whole dream stuff comes in. Was that
right? So
was it 5? Because really, if you're going by the timeline of when the events happened with Mrs. Voorhees, when Jason actually drowned, he was already a grown man by the time he jumped out of the lake. So
right
now,
true.
Where was he? Just out of interest.
Where was he?
Where do
New
you
York,
reckon he
apparently.
was from
I don't know.
1960 to 1980.
Well, that's when he had time.
His mum didn't even know where he was.
Yeah, well, at least the remake
when he had time to
answers that question. He's been digging tunnels this whole time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He's been dealing with PTSD the same way Rambo does. So moving into part 3, that appears to be just after part 2. So like a literally next day sort of situation.
So sorry, part 2 is allegedly in 1984. Is that?
Yes, I think that's the year. And then part 3. So you see the news at the start where Steve Miner's on the news report, being the reporter. It makes it clear that it's like one to 2 days removed from part 2. So Chris's attack from Jason came 2 years before that. So Chris's attack happened
82.
before part 2. So Jason donned his part 3 get-up, then went back to the sackhead, then got the gear out for part 3 again. Maybe part 3 is the Sunday best, and the sackhead was just kind of, workday Jason or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's your getting around gear.
yeah, exactly. So part 4 is another sort of day to 2 day period.
Yeah.
And this is where the amusing sort of discussions about Rob take place and how long his sister's sort of been disappeared and how long he had to prepare for his trip and how he got all the information and all that, but I'm sure we'll get into that. Part 5...
This now ties up the fact that the movie was made in 84 and the film is set in 84.
Yeah, so it starts to line up. So we
finally tied the... We're no longer in the future.
Not for long, Adam. Not for long.
The actual future.
Not for long, because part 5, and you mentioned this about Tommy's age. Part 5 is Tommy's supposed to be 17. So people have worked that out as it should be 1989/1990 at this point.
Okay.
So part 6
it's another
is
big
1 year later.
Yeah.
So we're 1991. We're going in like basketball seasons here. We're bridging 90 and 91 because we don't know. Beyond that, I believe it gets, it's sort of just like the smaller gaps. Actually, no, because Tina, she's coming back after an incident that took place. So then the timeline sort of gets a bit mixed up then as well.
But they don't say that what year that she killed her father, right?
No. So the date there is unknown, but people are placing that as taking place around 2000. I don't know how we get here, but
in a pinch, let's say 94, 95. Even.
Tina was supposed to be 7 when that stuff took place with her. Sorry, not 7. She was 7 when that stuff took place with her dad, and they're saying that was around the 1991 period. Okay, so Tina is now 17, which places us in the year 2000.
Huh. Okay.
And then.
Technology looks a bit spotty for them, but that's okay.
I know. And
okay.
The fashions don't line up. The fashions don't quite line up with the 2000s. So then Jason takes Manhattan is supposedly another 1 to 2 year gap, undefined again. But yeah, people are saying that's early 2000s, 1, 2.
Holy
beyond
shit.
that, it sort of seems to just clear up a little bit. I think Jason Goes to Hell sort of ignores it, as does obviously Jason X is its own beast. What a wonderful beast it is. And then the remake and Freddy vs. Jason also sort of just place it in current day. So yeah, part 8, I don't know what was going on, but between part 1 and part 8, we've worked our way up to the early 2000s. So there you go. If you can make sense of that.
The fact that you're telling me
should have.
Jason arrived the same year as 9/11. Yeah, I'm a little perturbed by that whole. That's nonsense. What?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's all over the place.
Wow.
But yeah, just another
what they should have done
aspect of the series to discuss.
And look, it's part of the screenwriting process is that they have to have these things like Jason being underwater for a while between 6 and 7, so he's all rotted and the like.
Yeah.
No one actually thinks to say, well, okay, he was under there for 3 months. And that would have cut the mustard anyway. Like, you know, you could have just said he looked really rotted. He shouldn't have been super rotted, but it's enough to say 3 months. Like, there should have only been little tiny gaps between each film.
That's right. It's sort of because it's a combination of you're playing with the timelines of things that happen to people and then jumping to, you know, Mrs. Voorhees taking revenge, or jumping to Jason growing up, or somebody having an incident with Jason and then 10 years later it's all over the shop. But yeah, as you said, it comes down to giving screenwriters a little bit of freedom to do what they want to do, and secondly, pumping them out every year while you're trying to do that and not really taking any notice to say, you know, this isn't our prestige property. We're not going to have somebody coming in and saying, hang on a minute, here's the Friday the 13th Bible that you need to follow. That doesn't line up. So, yeah.
It's almost as if the creatives in charge didn't have a plan for how this was all going to turn out.
Yeah, funny.
Almost like that.
Yeah, I think that's pretty spot on.
A sack of cash would just turn up at the office and they'd say, make another one as quick as you can.
Yeah, but wouldn't you at least look back at the one prior?
You would think, yeah.
Wouldn't you watch part 3 if you were writing part 4?
It's quite shocking the amount of people that were involved in the creative process that say, I'd never seen another one. It was just, I just got a job and I took it.
Yeah. But I mean, I remember reading in Crystal Lake Memories a few times. Oh yeah, like I sat down and I went through every film. I'm like, did you? Because your timeline's way off, and you know, like the whole Rob thing. Like we'll get to that now. What the fuck stuff, but it's obvious you didn't you didn't even look at it. If you're trying to tie him back to another character that was 2 days ago, died 2 days ago, like that doesn't work. So. Let's dive into these WTF moments, kicking off with the original from 1980. The most glaring one, the elephant in the room, or at least the elephant's trunk in the room, is Bacon seemingly having a boner.
Allegedly.
No seeming about it, mate.
We haven't got his take on it, have we?
No, I don't think so.
It seems to be a strange place to have it too. When they're in the middle of a rescue.
We're obviously excited. Blood's pumping to areas you don't want it going, and it just happened. It just happened. Or maybe he's just there's just so much bacon down there that maybe he wasn't hard. Maybe I don't know. But it's impossible not to notice. I will say that.
No.
Yeah, especially the way they frame it, because they sort of come up. And the camera sort of comes up onto someone else's face, and he's standing right behind him. It looks like he's put it in their ear.
Yeah. There's someone else's head, and then Bacon's other head right behind it. Like, it's just, yeah. It's so funny
mate.
that, I mean, the fact that he's wearing Speedos, everyone else is kind of, it's just one of those things that's just absolute cinema magic. You can't plan for that.
I didn't have any other WTF moments, but there are a couple in this film. I mean, I don't quite understand the strip monopoly.
Yes.
Oh,
I think that is probably one of the worst scenes in the entire franchise, to be honest.
I think it's safe to say that a horny Kevin Bacon might have suggested that idea after a rough day shooting on the lake.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe it was maybe they shot that scene before that. He was still gunning. I don't know. I'll say one of the what the fuck moments I have from this movie is just Crazy Ralph in general. His behavior, the way he is just so abrasive, and most importantly though, when you stop to think about, I just got a real problem about the death curse in general in this town. That really, it's been 20 years. Only 2 kids have died and 1 kid drowned. But they're treating this like, this whole fucking town is like it's filled with ghosts and demons and shit. And this guy's running up on people, telling women like, are all the girls as good looking as you? Ralph.
I really wish that in the remake they had have gone with a Crazy Ralph, because I just wanted to see that and Trent together. I just think that would have been awesome. See how Trent deals with it. It would have been fucking awesome.
Luckily we got Donnie, which we could talk about later, yeah.
Yeah. Crazy Ralph has always been a funny one for me, because you sort of, if you're a fan of the series, you got to have some sort of appreciation for it. But a lot of people just have this reverence for it. I'm like, the performance was terrible. Everyone's talking about Walt Gorney being an established actor and all this sort of stuff. Talk about over the top. I mean, Jesus Christ, rein it in, mate. Be a bit more subtle with it.
Yeah, but in Friday the 13th, an established actor is somebody who would tread the boards down at the local down at the local theatre. It wasn't anyone who had actually any talent.
Other than Kevin Bacon, of course.
Even Bakesy, Bacon's probably better than the rest of them, to be honest, but only marginally. The worst one is that Goose who bloody runs around with his bloody shirt tied in a nappy and he's firing arrows at people.
Yeah, get rid of him.
That guy's the worst.
He's scary, mate.
Yeah,
if Mrs. Voorhees didn't do it, I reckon he should have. He would have been the better mystery man. He's a loose unit.
He was terrible. My WTF is the whole Steve Christie and Alice thing. They have that scene that seems to insinuate that they're romantic, and if they aren't, then it comes off as very creepy for Steve. So it's just sort of the fact that it never goes anywhere. It's sort of, did you really need that, or could you have sort of worked that character, whatever character moments you wanted out of that, could you have found that somewhere else? Because obviously Steve Christie plays a fairly minor part. So yeah, to have that very early on and then not come back, I'm kind of like, don't know about that.
Yeah.
And I think it's obviously because Steve Christie leaves the camp and we don't have any time to sort of wrap it up because it's that night when everything happens. But still, there should have been something, anything, even if it was her saying, "Look, don't touch me." Like, don't touch me, mate. No, that's not what we're after. That's not what we're about.
Yeah.
One more time and I'm calling the sheriff. That kind of thing.
Not in those shorts, pal. Not in those.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, what do you do wearing my shorts?
Yeah, well, there you go. You've just solved it for me, mate. Obviously, he's woken up in the morning and couldn't find his clothes, so he's chucked hers on. That solves it. We know what's gone down now. I'm glad we hashed it out.
If only he'd wandered out in a short crop top as well, we would have known. Absolutely, yes.
So I've got one that I picked up just from the dialogue. So
Yep.
Enos, I think his name is, in the truck that gives the girl Annie a lift. Yep. He starts talking about the camp as well. And he says they were going to open it in 62, but the water was bad. So are we led to believe from that Mrs. Voorhees poisoned the entire lake or contaminated it somehow? Because it looks like a large lake. So I don't know whether, when they were talking about it, because they were tying it into like the history of the camp, I was thinking, is that a side note, or are we taking from this that Mrs. Voorhees is ducking out to the lake with a bag of chemicals and tipping them in there or something like that? Like, it just opens up this whole interesting angle that I would like to see kind of explored further.
Yeah, maybe there was just a lot of mercury in the water, and that's what led to Jason being all fucked up or something. Maybe this is an indictment on the. It's an environmental. Really, this is an indictment of the EPA.
Well, right, so we could make like an Aaron Brockovich style
exactly
to
Dark
Friday
Waters,
the 13th. Yeah.
Well, as we get along in this podcast, I'm sure we will be talking about some environmental issues involving certain characters around the place. So it's not surprising the water was contaminated.
True.
Any others for part one? Anything else that jumps out?
None particularly, no. I mean, they get crazier as they go along.
Yeah, definitely. It's pretty light on considering.
Even part two. I mean, let's look at Ginny's under the bed. Jason's in the room. I mean, there's a puddle of piss. The rat comes out, and there's a puddle of piss. I'm not joking. It's not a small amount of piss. It's a huge puddle of piss.
Well, and the other thing is, like,
Ginny definitely
judging by the colour, if that was Ginny, she must have shat herself as well. Otherwise, I don't know what's going on. It was all kinds of off, that colour.
Yeah,
she either needs to drink very, very badly.
Clearly dehydrated.
Yeah, either rehydrate. It's either that or she's shat herself at the same time. So,
I mean, there is no need for that scene, but then it still has no conceivable answer apart from Ginny pissed herself, because there's no. I mean, the puddle of piss was. There's no way the rat could do that much.
No.
This is the final girl we voted as, the strongest. I mean, the best, or many of us did, and to have her piss at the sight of a rat or whatever is just really upsetting.
And she comes out from under the bed after it's over, and the pants are dry, everything.
Totally dry.
The filmmakers are obviously saying it was the rat. You can't.
But if it was, why? Why is that it?
The puddle's almost as big as the lake.
It's probably also contaminated.
Yeah.
No, I don't. Yeah, I totally agree, Brandon. Why? Why is the rat urinating?
Maybe it was a real thing. Maybe the rat really did just piss during the scene, and they didn't. That's the only thing I can explain for any rational reason for going to the detail of putting this rat urine on the ground. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's an unnecessary addition because the scene doesn't require it.
Absolutely.
You could have still had the rat because she's trying not to scream.
Yeah.
But you don't need the piss.
No, I don't think so. Definitely.
And we can't talk about number two, I think, without the very start of the movie is one of the biggest. Just what is happening? Who's calling her? Is he in New York? Is she I'm just confounded by the entire opening of this second one.
Is she living down near Crystal Lake?
That's what I have to imagine she's at least close by. Which at that, why are you close by?
Yeah. I think there was some information in the novelization that indicated that she'd gone to the camp to sort of for closure, back to the camp, and he'd followed her from there.
But even so, I mean, this requires a number of things. He doesn't have a car. Jason. Well, he's got to have some cash. He's got to find a coin to use the payphone. He's got to use a payphone. He's got to look up a number. I mean, Jason at this point is hard pressed to tie his own shoes. Yet he's doing all this stuff. Yeah, it just doesn't add up.
He could only muster enough strength and energy and wit to rip one hole in that potato sack. And so, he's not the sharpest tool in the shed. Yeah.
He can't go 1 2 1 2. There's no sort of correspondence there, but he can dial a 10-digit number.
Mate, that's rotary phones too, mate. So he's not getting that
that's
done.
a different area code and everything. Yeah,
he's getting his finger stuck in that.
Was a punch phone? Punch number phone? Maybe I'll give him a chance, but he's not getting the rotary phone worked out. And you're spot on. He needs a coin. He does.
He does.
He can't just ring.
Yeah, he can't just. He doesn't know how to reverse. I mean, yeah. How's he? He's not reversing.
Maybe he does.
Charges.
Maybe the call started with you receiving a call from Jason.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you accept the charges? Yes.
Yeah. I've got to ask Brandon about this one because this is something that we're not as familiar with. But they mentioned that the summer camp. They talk about when they're going for a walk in the summer camp or something. They're like, just be careful. Take note of the bears. Just be careful about the bears that are close by.
Yeah.
Do you actually put summer camps in places that a child might be mauled by a bear?
Yeah, well, first off, I mean, like I used to live in Maine, and Maine, there are bears around there. I'm sure in rural areas, rural parts, there are summer camps located near a part where there might be a bear. But I don't know of. First off, I don't know of many New Jersey bears, which is where this is kind of supposed to be set. Like, again, maybe I'm wrong, but I do know that it would never be so close to put it near where children are supposed to stay. There's some park rangers coming out there.
Yeah, that's a lawsuit waiting to happen, surely.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously we don't have that sort. Although I'm sure we have school camps and shit where there's bloody brown snakes and things, so it's probably not too different. Yeah. The other big one too.
More of a worry than the bears.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. The other big one,
especially
for me
if you can use phones and track people down.
Yeah, he's upskilling. Jason realises that his skills aren't quite of the era, so he's upskilling as he goes.
What I wanted to see was a shot of him in the phone booth, holding the phone, looking at it, going, "What do I do with this? How do I handle this?"
Yeah.
Now that I know that he's in New York in 2001, I wonder if he used MapQuest to get there, or what sort of technology he's getting into then. Yeah.
Yeah, Jason's getting on the GPS by that point.
Absolutely.
The last one that I had listed was obviously the famous Crazy Ralph one. How the rope goes over the tree, because it looks like a fucking big tree.
Makes absolutely no sense yet, the tree.
Yeah, judging by the what we see of the tree, that thing's at least 20 foot, maybe more. Like, you're not getting it over the top. You're not just looping it over the top like that. So that's definitely, you got to bring that one up.
Crazy Ralph was a minimum 6 foot tall. Jason has to be taller than that. It has to be a tree stump, not an actual tree.
Yeah,
something like that. Super easy fix too. Just whip it around the tree. Yeah.
But how often do you leave a tree stump that high? You cut that thing down to bloody knee height at worst, wouldn't you?
Maybe it's a small tree. Maybe Jason was in the tree and he came sliding down.
Yeah, he had his fucking cleats on. Oh, man.
I love it. Any others for part 2?
That was all for me.
Yeah, I think that's good. I mean, his weird little shack there has always confounded me. The things on the walls there, what he's collecting there, who he chooses to bring there. It's and again, how long has he been living there? Because I'm just fascinated by his, these years in between that go unexplained.
Yeah.
So I'm going to assume that that's where he was living, obviously, between 59 or whatever and 80.
Yeah.
That's where he's living. Mrs. Voorhees never came. I mean, she was too busy poisoning the water supply, so she didn't have time to find a ramshackle building and go, "Oh, Jason, you're still here."
And it looks like, I'm going to say, it looks like there was a large number of rats that might have also peed/shat themselves in that little hut of his too.
Well, he's got to be eating rats, right? He's eating rats. What else is he eating? Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely
this
something.
This is a real Halloween Resurrection situation, right? They were always munching rats down in that basement.
Yeah.
I mean, he's surviving on a pretty...
Michael had a relatively tidy domicile compared to Jason.
Exactly, yeah. And Michael's driving around. He's locking his car with automatic lock beepers and shit. Yeah, he's good.
Yeah.
He's far more, look, he might
sophisticated.
But he knows how to use a phone. Yeah, he can do all this stuff. Jason, on the other hand, I mean, he must be pounding down a fair amount of rats because, to put on the kind of weight and muscle he's got on, you need 3,000 to 4,000 cal. You got to find some kind of sustenance. Jeez.
Yeah, definitely. We do know there's bears in the area, so maybe he's eating bears too.
Wouldn't surprise me if he's killing bears, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they also find the dog, don't they? Is it the dog? No, it's not. Well, it looks like the dog. Remember when they're in there, Sandra and Jeff are going into Camp Blood, and they come across what looks like a corpse of that dog, Missy or whatever it's called, Muffin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he left a meal at the table right there.
Oh shit, someone's coming. It might be Mum. I've been trying to avoid her for 25 years. She's been riding my ass for so long. I just need some space.
Yeah, just my own little shack in the woods where I can just be alone.
Okay, part 3. I just put down here, one of them, everything that Shelley does. Every single thing the bloke does is just, why are you doing this?
Yes.
What are you doing?
And
I mean, even when he gets vaguely normal briefly.
Yeah. I mean, you're not getting an invite. No one's inviting you. If they know that this is what you're up to.
What was his connection?
You're not invited.
What was his connection to the others? Because they never really say, or he doesn't seem to know. He knows Andy, I think, the guy who gets chopped.
He's friends with Andy.
Cirque du Soleil performer.
Well, there's the connection. And they both perform their little circus tricks and acts and whatever, but Andy knows when to... Andy's got a filter. He knows when the circus tricks are allowed and when they're not. Shelley's still learning that.
Shelley's just a goddamn prankster, and I could not deal with him more than 5-10 minutes. This guy is... He reminded me of... who's the guy? Franklin in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original. Just a grating character to the point where, like, I need you to die soon.
Yeah, you gotta go.
You're hindering my enjoyment of this so much.
Yeah. It'd be funny to... I would like to see a Survivor-style show with all these characters, Franklin, Shelley. It'd be interesting to see who's getting voted off first and why. I reckon Shelley would be close. Shelley and Franklin would be they'd be the first two candidates to get voted off, I reckon.
No, because Shelley would be the first one out because he'd walk out with a bloody... plastic mask on. It's meet him, and you just...
They'd say, welcome to the ceremony... Welcome to the ceremony, Shelley, fuck off. Jason's over there waiting for you on your bike, son. Tell your story walking, mate.
Because that's how we get introduced to him. That's how he gets introduced to Vera. So immediately she's offside. She's not having a bar of his crap, surely. Yeah.
And the biggest or the strangest decision for mine is you seem to be making some progress there. You're talking to... forgotten her name. It's Vera is the one that he's talking to?
Yeah.
Vera. You're acting normal and you're making a connection with Vera, but because she doesn't immediately turn from, this guy that's been bloody jumping out in masks and carrying on like a dickhead the whole trip, because she doesn't immediately turn to, let's jump in the sack, he thinks, oh, well, I'll fuck that up, so I'm just going to jump into a scuba suit and fucking scare her while she's sitting on the wharf again. Mate, how about you just say, all right, can I come for a walk with you and we'll just have a chat? Just keep this normal relationship progressing because it was going somewhere.
Yeah, he seems to ramp it up a notch with this ridiculous trying to scare her angle, and the whole thing when he falls out with the axe in his head.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I've been away on a few trips to the coast, and that's really not getting anyone excited. And secondly, most of us are shit-faced by about that time.
Yeah, exactly.
I wouldn't have even known. He just lay there for about an hour before I stumbled across him.
After half a dozen rock hoppers, you'd probably just tell me I'm a scumbag and fucking mumble off and fall asleep, as you normally do when you're in that state. But yeah, you're exactly right. Like, of all the coast trips we've sort of been to, the hijinks never seem to be that well planned, for one. Like, it's always just, I've had 6 beers. This sounds like a good idea. I'm going to throw a piece of paper at him or something stupid like that. It's not...
Yeah.
I'm going to go and get the FX kit out and put a fake axe in my head.
I don't know. Have these characters ever survived the movies? Did these pranksters ever live to see the credits? Because it seems like most killers have just love killing these people, and we love watching them die.
Yeah, they were just set up to be knocked down. These ones, surely.
Ted in Part 2 is kind of your prankster, and he survives.
True,
but
by sheer luck. I mean, that was, you know.
Yeah, but Ted's a little bit different because he's sort of he's got a level of popularity. Everyone seems to love the bloke, other than the audience. But he's sort of he's a little bit different. And as Luke pointed out yesterday, he's partial to going and tying one on at the bar, which ended up saving his life.
Yep.
I'd like to know where he ended up.
Probably still at the bar.
I could have seen a Frank Drebin style laugh bit where he wanders back into camp and by sheer drunkenness misses Jason.
That would have been great, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
That would have been golden. It would have been absolutely golden.
I would love to see him arrive, though, at the camp. Just an entire, slaughter of, oh my God.
Yeah.
I, for some reason, thought there was a sequence where he does return, but obviously that's not correct. I thought
that wasn't a Marvel stinger at the end there, yeah?
Yeah, that post-credit sequence that you missed.
Yeah.
I also have to bring up the intro theme. I mean, Manfredini takes us to Crystal Lake via Funky Town or fucking Electric Avenue or something. Like, I don't know what's going on there. They tried to cash in on the disco and hit us with a little bit of disco music to kick things off.
Surely disco was dead by then, by 82.
You would think
was
so.
It not?
This did it.
Burning stacks of records in the late 70s.
Yeah, I don't know what the rationale was. They wanted to try and get a little bit of sort of a commercial crossover thing happening. I don't know whether that was
selling them soundtracks. Yeah. You really want a horror theme you can dance to, you know what I mean?
That's right. That's the first thing I'm thinking. I want to be able to cut the rug to the Friday the 13th music.
I believe that it's a bit of a hit in the clubs, that remix.
Freddie had some jams, you know what I mean, in his series there later on. So
true,
I think Jason was lacking, and I'm glad we have this one here. Yeah.
It's good that Jason can compete when the DJ takes requests and Freddie says put mine on. Jason can say, hey, me too. Just cue mine up.
It's disco time, Jason.
Yeah, yours is okay, Freddie, but can you dance to that one? Because mine, you can dance to that.
But Freddie's got, I've got one by Will Smith, you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's right. We just keep upping it. Yeah,
exactly. Wow.
Didn't they also have one with, what was the one, Are You Ready for Freddie? Who was
the Fat Boys?
That shit?
The Fat Boys.
The Fat Boys.
Oof.
Jason had some Alice Cooper. Jason did have some Alice.
He did, yes.
Yes. Yeah. I think the Fat Boys, that song's just stood the test of time beautifully, hasn't it?
Oh, my God. I remember seeing the film clip again and just going, oh.
Yeah, aren't they?
It was the absolute height of Freddie's crap.
Yeah, they're like his long-lost cousins or something in the film clip.
That's what you want to associate yourself with, a pedophile child murderer, yeah.
Yeah. It's just a natural fit
ultimately,
too.
Freddie became a good bloke in the 80s.
when you go to the record company and they get the Rolodex out and you say, oh yeah, we've got a child killer, there's possible, there's thoughts put in place that he may be molesting kids too. Oh, let me just get the Rolodex out. How about the Fat Boys? What do you reckon? Oh yeah, perfect fit. Sounds great. Like, I don't know whose career was that boosting.
I know.
I'm assuming the Fat Boys, because Freddie was at the peak of his powers right then.
Mm.
That was between 3 and 4, I think.
Yep.
And that's when they were absolutely making squillions of dollars. They were very popular.
Yep.
All right. Speaking of someone getting sexually assaulted, that's my big WTF moment in part 3. Is the whole thing involving Jason and Chris. And the story she tells, and where forget about where it sort of comes into it. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't fit the Friday the 13th franchise at all, because they never ever do anything like this in any of the other films.
Yeah,
and maybe I overthought it, but the insinuation to me was he was trying to rape her.
Well, can I just add to it too? And watching it this time is the very first time I'd noticed this somehow. But the TV report also states, though unconfirmed, reports of cannibalism and sexual mutilation. So when you tack that on top of the Chris stuff, I was kind of like, ooh, I feel sort of uncomfortable now. I don't want to watch any further. I have to take a break. That was a road that we just did not want to take.
And also, break down part 3. As a whole, it is just a mess of different tones then, if that's the case, because you're offering up cannibalism, sexual mutilation, Jason attacking a girl in what I would have considered a sexual assault attempt, and then you've got fucking Saturday Night Fever on the soundtrack. It doesn't make sense.
Although now that we've seen The Fanatic, Travolta, he likes to dance and then go down to that sort of, he can do it both ways too.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of when they do this in these series, especially when you sort of root for the killer. You know what I mean? In a series littered with sexual predators, it's okay if he's going to kill him, but I don't want him to be one.
Yeah, exactly. Isn't he supposed to be enforcing those morals while absolutely destroying other ones?
That's sort of he takes someone out who's doing that sort of crap, but
that sort of stuff
just doesn't work the other way.
That sort of stuff is Leatherface's corner. You don't just leave that corner to him, and you go deal on another one.
Or Rob Zombie. Rob Zombie's squarely in that corner too.
Yep.
And you look at his Halloweens and see the similar type of grungy, sort of ugly aesthetic that he always adds, and it involves this kind of. I mean, the remake of Halloween with the his escape involving the girl in the cell with those two. I mean, that was
just awful. And it doesn't belong in this sort of
it doesn't belong in these sorts of films.
Just because you have the killer in the movie, it doesn't mean that's the sort of movie it is. It's a different style of entertainment. It's not hard hitting. It's not the way to explore those sort of things in the human condition in that way, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're not making a statement with Jason attempting to sexually assault somebody.
Other than a musical statement with that disco theme.
Yeah. All right. Any more in part 3?
Yeah, I just had one small one. So our crazy Ralph this time is now a town drunk that sleeps on the road and collects eyeballs. And I still think I like him better. I just thought that the progression from crazy Ralph to that guy. Hey? What was that?
He's in it less. He's only in it for about 10 minutes.
Yeah. Very, very slight appearance from him. But yeah, that was just a little one I thought was worth mentioning.
For sure. All right, into part 4. First things first is Crispin Glover's dancing. I mean, what is that?
Legendary. Yeah.
I'm not sure. But it's. I wish I could do it. I wish I could just, spontaneously break out into something like that.
It's hard to describe.
He gets a lot of high knees going.
Yeah,
There's a lot of high knees.
A lot of sharp movements. A lot of hard, sharp, fast movements.
Yeah, sort of stabbing motions with the hands.
Yeah,
like
slicing almost. Yeah, it's pretty. I don't know. I think he was ahead of his time there.
He was. Yeah, I think that might have been the forerunner to crumping or something like that.
Exactly.
Do you know what though? His character gets laid.
Yeah.
Surely that has immediately struck you off the list.
No, but that's a little.
The girls are looking at each other, going, "Not him."
That's a little bit of peacocking, though, isn't it? He's just drawing the eye. To begin with.
Yep. Getting the attention. It makes sense.
Yeah, that was just brilliant. Although I'm very glad they didn't allow him to sort of have any soundtrack form after seeing that bloody clown song that he did. That stumbled across that on YouTube. So I'm glad they didn't let him write a song as well as dance to one.
Yeah, he's a strange fella. Yeah. Even back then, I'm sure he was a strange bloke. But look, that was only a small one for me. The big one there is what we were saying about Rob.
Yeah,
like he's in the woods. 2 days? Is it 2 days or 3? After the death of his sister.
Even if we're generous, it's like a 3 to 4 day stretch, tops. So
he's immediately found out his sister's dead. He's grieved. He's grieved. Yep. And then he's immediately strapped up Rambo style with all his gear and headed into the woods.
And he's obviously had a shopping trip to bloody Kathmandu. He's got his hiking boots and his his long sort of thermal socks and all that sort of gear. He's already stocked up. So that must have taken. I mean, it would have taken a day to do the preparations to make the trip to Kathmandu. Buy your maps. So
but
there's 1 day gone
too. So he didn't drive up there.
No.
He's on foot. So he's surely been hitchhiking for a couple of days.
Yeah. And, I mean, any way you slice it, pardon the pun, it's like anyone that comes across him and has the 2 bits of information, they find out about any murders that have taken place, and then hear his story, you're just looking at him going, where's the phone? I'm just going to quickly give the cops a call and let them know they might want to have a chat to this bloke. Just sort of get the ball rolling on some inquiries because he's suspect number 1 at the moment.
Yeah. Because no one knew who Jason was.
No.
Oh, no, well, they did at the start of part 4 because obviously they brought him in.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I think they were. But even then, his first massacre was 2 days ago or 3 days ago. Or 4 days ago, being generous. So, how did his word spread? The cops haven't even solved the case yet.
Do you think they're looking elsewhere?
They're looking at Rob.
Cops haven't joined the dots yet.
Once they call up Rob's family to inform and say, "Oh, your sister/daughter, whatever, whoever they're calling, they're missing," and they have a little chat and find out, "Oh, yeah, Rob's already taken off to Crystal Lake." The police are going, "Hang on a minute. That was quick. Was he already here, perhaps? Maybe he's doing the job." I don't know. Yeah, it's just another one of those things. It's a bit of fun to talk about. It just doesn't add up.
But again, from a writing standpoint, you didn't need it. He didn't have to be related to Sandra. He didn't have to be anybody. He could have been just a guy hiking in the woods.
So I actually like the fact,
in the papers.
That's right. I actually like the fact that he is. I kind of like the fact that there was someone with some skin in the game that was sort of getting other people on board that this is what might be happening. But it doesn't hold up in the context of looking back to 2 and 3. When you look at it standalone as part 4 and try not to think of the timeline, I actually do like that was the way they went.
I think they should have had it as one of the girls killed in part 1.
Well, that probably would have made a little bit more sense.
He's been roaming the wilderness for 4 years.
Even then, everyone seems to know that it was Mrs. Voorhees that did it then. So nobody was aware that
true.
Jason was a young boy / growing man with a football-shaped head and a sack over it that was perpetrating these crimes.
All right, any more in part 4? I mean, part 4's got a couple of amusing things, but it's a little bit tighter, I think, in terms of...
Definitely.
There's less of that kind of shit.
I know we're going to mention it later on in another segment, but I mean, I mean, Axel at the beginning here is just some of his behavior. But one of the lines I wrote down from the nurse who he's having sex with that I laughed out loud was Axel, I'm not going to fake any more orgasms for you. Like, this guy's the worst. He's talking about how sexy the cadavers are and
absolute piece of shit.
He's a horror show, mate.
Yeah.
He's a horror story. And the worst part is he plays the lovable fackler in the Police Academy movie.
That's right. Yeah.
I was expecting him to knock something over. It was a set photo, everything, you know.
Yeah. I had one more little
WTF. Scumbag.
Yeah, I had one more little WTF, and that was the hitchhiker. I have brought it up before, but I love the fact she's having so little success that she's taken the time to place "fuck you" on the back of the board, just in case she doesn't get a ride. She's already prepared for those people that drive past and make fun of her, that she can quickly just whip the board around and give them the bird on the way past. I thought that was magnificent planning from a hitchhiker, just to be prepared for all scenarios.
I mean, she would probably have to, even to the lengths of some of the others where they've had fodder characters that you barely know.
Yeah.
I mean, she doesn't even speak, I don't think.
No. Well, she speaks volumes with that board. Fuck you.
She sits down and gets stabbed in the neck.
Yeah. Yeah, it was
That's
just
the whole thing.
I thought it was just an amusing little side note.
All right, on to part 5. This one is just chock full. Like, this one is chock full of moments. Part 8 is also a candidate with a few under its belt. But part 5, for starters, Tommy has aged 10 years.
Looks like it.
I mean, he looks like Corey Feldman's father.
Yeah. If he's 17, mate, I'm a fucking toddler. Like, that is not a 5-year age difference.
He looks nothing like Corey Feldman.
Yep.
He is now like all buffed up and you know, he's cracking a beard just about.
Yeah, they've got a state-of-the-art gym at the mental health facility, obviously, because he's working out.
Well, I've got question marks on that. That's a fair old WTF as well. The Younger Institute of Mental Health is hardly secure.
Yeah, I want to see a protocol document before I'm dropping off any more patients here.
Is this some sort of Ponzi scheme or like a Bikram yoga?
Yeah, I don't think they've
we're a mental health institute.
I don't think they've
got
even
a stutterer and a couple of nymphomaniacs.
Yeah. And we got this crazy asshole out back chopping wood. Who gave this guy an axe?
Exactly. Yeah. Obvious anger issues. Let's allocate him to the woodcutting task. That's a good chore for him. That'll work out great.
I could just see a scene from inside the institute where the guy who runs it comes out whistling with his little board, and then he looks down and he goes, "Oh shit, Vic's on fucking wood chopping duty."
Yeah, exactly.
Charging out there, stuff.
Not only that, but there's another point where Tommy's strutting around with a knife at one point, isn't he?
Yeah.
So
he's carrying a hunting knife or something like that. It's one of those ones that folds up into the handle, but
and I'm sure in a facility that holds about 7 people, we could possibly say we'll just take one nymphomaniac and we'll ship the other one over to the next county. Because this isn't going to work.
Pam says to the boss, "Should we actually have 2 of them in the same place, a male and a female?" And he goes, "Yeah, everybody's fine, don't worry about it."
Yeah, after this, I think the first thing on the list was, how do we move forward from here? When we take this meeting offline, where do we go from here? Item 1, one nympho policy in place. We'll put that.
Look,
that would save us some hassles.
A sane person to chop the wood.
Yeah, we will have no inpatients chopping wood. We'll hire someone to do that. Someone of sound mind to do that.
I'll tell you what, though, Joey's the worst.
Yeah.
I mean, what that guy thinks he's doing in his performance is I don't know who told him to do that, but it's just awful.
He's another one that in Crystal Lake Memories talks about how he didn't just want to portray he just want to portray this as cardboard cutout of a person with a mental disability, and then you watch the movie and it's it'd go down as one of the worst portrayals in cinema history of a person with a mental disability.
Yeah,
It's pretty transcendent.
it's-
I don't. Didn't he get a Best Supporting Actor nom for this?
Yeah, I think a couple. He swept the awards.
Yeah.
I'd like to think that this is where Travolta took some of his kicks to the finale.
Poppycock. Oh my god!
good
And what's
lord.
with Tommy? Tommy, when he throws that fucking guy into the wall, like flips him over his shoulder. It comes into like Jean-Claude Van Damme out of nowhere. Flips him over his shoulder, then just starts beating the shit out of his face. It's like, holy shit! This guy could take Jason, maybe.
Yeah, he was unhappy about the two nymphos policy and took it out.
Yeah. The policy of the place seems to be, rather than treatment, you just wander around and do as you please, access to anything you like. There doesn't seem to be any sort of treatment going on at this facility.
Well,
None that I can
again,
see anyway.
From a just a quick sort of scripting perspective, wouldn't you have had it like they were alcoholics or something? It's much easier to create that kind of rehab style setup, kind of like that. It's a little looser because you're allowed to leave rehab. If you're a celebrity, you leave rehab like 3 days after you get there. But that would have made more sense because there's a girl there. There's the girl. I can't remember her name. Is it the stutterer puts the moves on her and fails.
Oh,
dismally.
yeah. I've forgotten the name as well.
There is
I know.
no information. There's no information to what kind of issue she might have.
Yeah.
Like
And might I add that if stuttering is that bloke's only issue, he's not going to be in an institute? That seems to be his only problem too.
but also,
Stuttering and a slight confidence
Violet-
issue, which last time I checked, he didn't get locked up for. Or not locked up for.
We're not sending you to
Violet.
jail. We'll send you to an insane asylum for your stutter.
That'll fix it.
Yeah.
Violet, her biggest crime is doing the robot. She hasn't done anything wrong as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, you are
She
suffering
doesn't
from
like to talk to people, and she does the robot in her own room.
you are suffering from a rhythmic deficit. You'll be placed with the nymphomaniacs where you can observe rhythms very regularly. And
You need
see how you
a
go.
lesson in rhythm. Let me introduce you to Kristen Glover from the film before.
Yeah,
I
we
think,
brought in a specialist. We brought in a specialist for you. His
I
name's
also-
Jimmy.
I also think by some of the things that come out in the film and reading more about it, that the director, Danny, what's his name? Danny Steineman, was it? I think he might have been campaigning for the Unger Nymphomaniacs Institute, so he could have the whole place going and doing it. That's what it sounded like.
So basically, we've worked out that this is an institute of mental health because it actually does say it on the side of the van. You got two nymphos, a stutterer, a girl who does the robot, an angry guy with an axe, and Joey, I don't know what his specific mental deficiency was, but there's something there. And
Acting,
then Tommy
I think
Jarvis. Tommy Jarvis, guy struggling with PTSD after murdering a mass murderer. He's the guy you put with them?
Yeah, it's the right.
And they've
Doesn't
got
make
two
any sense.
people. They've got two people that don't seem to specialise in any particular field of mental health. So
Neither
Where are
one
we
of
going
them's a
with this?
doctor.
Yeah.
No one's got a PhD. There's
and the bloke that drops people off is likely to go up to the nymphomaniacs and say, "How you doing?"
That guy.
and get them all worked up. Like, this is just. I can't see how this is going to go pear-shaped at all.
Who signed off on putting it out at Crystal Lake too? It seems like not the best place. We've had 3 massacres of young people in one place.
Yeah, you've had 5 years to assess this.
Oh God!
Seemingly, judging by his age, you've had maybe 15 years by the look of him, but it's been a long time that you could have gone through this process.
Okay, any more about part 5? I mean, we probably will talk more about some of the lesser people running around that area in another section here.
Yeah, I mean, there's just that one great moment of filmmaking, that shot of Roy as he lifts his head as he's lifting his son's body, and it's just it's a good 2 or 3 second shot on his face, just like staring at the camera, like, you get it, dum-dums?
Yep, it's me.
It's just so funny that maybe someone who's never seen a movie in their life might keep going along, but
and meanwhile, his ambulance partner, who's supposed to have a little bit of empathy, goes, "Oh, you bloody pussies." You are a top bloke, aren't you? Top bloke.
Yeah, exactly. Knows how to read the room. His social intelligence is off the scale.
All right.
Because I didn't necessarily want any of them to have any more lines, I had to bring a couple of characters into the what the fuck. Obviously the Drifter, which we've discussed. Just the gold standard for someone to quickly knock off the screen. I mean, they don't even bother to give him any time at all. Why would you? They just bring him in to say something stupid and then get knocked off as quickly as possible. Also, the Greasers. Another example, but I don't know. It was just so weird the way they were treating each other. The bloke that's just absolutely abusing the other one and then gets back to the car and starts to rat-a-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat, just like singing along.
And what's one of the worst improvised, like, you can tell they just like, go with it, buddy, and he's just trying to come up with a song there. Rat-a-tat, motherfucker, ooh, sit behind the wheel, ba-ba-da-ba-boo-boo-boo, choo-ba-ba. It's like, oh my Lord.
Yeah. And again, they also suffer from the problems that are plaguing Crystal Lakes. That thanks to super spreader Harold, they seem to have a greasy ass. You can't wait to take a crap in a normal toilet.
Yeah.
I don't know of anyone because the guy didn't seem to have a whole lot of urgency. He was just like, I need to go to the toilet, but he wasn't like, oh man, if I don't go now, I'm going to shit myself.
Yeah. He
just said, I need to go to the toilet. So I'm just going to go and crap in the water.
Enchiladas moment. He needed to be shuffling there with some real sort of, oh god, something's going to happen.
Oh, that's right, because we didn't mention Demons like his shit serenade, did we? With his girlfriend outside, yeah. That's also what the hell's going on here.
That is just, I mean, that would go down as possibly my favourite moment in the whole series. Like that sequence of him sitting on the toilet, alternating back and forth from, you're going to get it, bitch! And then 2 seconds later, they're singing, ooh, baby, all lovey-dovey again. Or if I was going through similar bowel issues thanks to the damn enchiladas, I'm sure I'd be a little bit moody as well.
Yeah, I think I'd be seeing something a little more, how do I put it, maybe some metal.
Something a bit more strenuous, yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
man,
absolutely.
What his girlfriend should have been telling him, that's what you get for buying 10 different greasy takeaways on the way over here and eat.
Yeah, don't take it out on me. I'm not the idiot that was fucking pulling pizza slices out from under the car seat and eating them, you idiot. That's all your fault. This is self-inflicted. Not only that, but you bought the pizza from Harold, so it's fucking bad luck, mate. I must say, if they, as a collector, I have, I do enjoy sort of collecting the different iterations of Jason and things like that in figure form. I'm crying out for a demon. I need a demon on the shelf, and I would.
It should be him sitting on the can.
I would. Hopefully, someone would craft an outdoor shitter that I could have him perched on up on the shelf. Enchilada in hand.
He doesn't come with like extra like weapons or anything. He comes with a slice of pizza, enchiladas, a box of egg rolls.
Egg rolls.
One in his hand every day.
I mean, the guy's on screen for what? Probably 5 minutes. He offers up enchilada, taco, egg roll, and pizza in that time. He's got a bit of everything.
Oh. We'll get back to Demon because he will come up again. He will come up in, and I feel he could have his own sitcom.
Absolutely,
he's running a small food stand.
Well, it'd be man versus food style show with Demon.
Yeah, or honestly, I'd even take like a nice romantic, intimate, like a chef. It's just like Jon Favreau's chef with Demon. He's trying to bond with his young son or something, cooking up enchiladas.
Yeah, and then every time they start to talk about something serious, he goes, "Oh,
damn enchiladas!" Yeah, it runs on.
I can't believe that we haven't got a T-shirt from Fright Rags about damn enchiladas yet. I would buy 2.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's move on to part 6 because it's pretty light in the WTF moments as well because it's much better written for starters. But I still don't understand why the dude is wandering around the bush in a paintball game with a machete. With a machete. Like, what are you using it for? What's its purpose?
He also seems to be choosing a path to walk so that he can use the machete because there's ways around it. You can see there's ways that he could go where he wouldn't have to cut through anything, but he's just walking with a machete specifically to places that he has to cut something with it. But yeah, you're not allowed on the course, mate. As soon as you pull that out, sorry, sir, yeah, you'll need to leave that one here.
Leave the machete behind, mate.
Yeah. Silly.
I mean, when you're watching the series front to back, when you get to the very first, I guess, meta moment of it, for me, it's like, oh, wait, hang on a second, wait, what's going on? When Martin, the gravedigger, like turns and looks towards the camera and is like, some folks have a strange idea of entertainment. I'm like, wait, okay, all right, Martin, I see what you're doing. But then he caps that off with a, does he think I'm a fart head? It cuts to the kids screaming, yes!
Yeah, probably not the best that Tom McLaughlin got to with the script.
Again, a fun moment, but while you're watching through it really, throws you for a loop.
Yeah. I also had obviously we've mentioned Megan's decision making. I mean, that is just, what is she doing? Like, I don't think anyone is good looking enough that when you've heard freshly delivered from a mental institute and sitting in a prison cell, that you think, all right, here's my shot.
God, that guy is super hot. What was that? You just escaped from a mental hospital with Horseshack? Oh, right. Hang on. Yeah, forget about what I said.
Yeah. And the other one, I had one big query around. One of the things that I really didn't like about part 6, there's not a lot of them, but I don't know how we got to he has to be killed where it started, like drowning him in the lake. Although that became a pretty handy part of the mythology to use, it just seemed to come out of Tommy's rear end. I think that's where he just said it. He just said it, and that made it canon, basically.
Yeah, not a lot of effort put into that, I must admit.
I mean, it does make a little bit of sense, but, you could say we could try taking him back to the lake because he seemed to drown there the first time, but even then, it didn't work because he's still wandering around. So
or even to have some sort of harbinger of doom explain the rule or something to make sense, but for him to just come out of nowhere with, we need to kill him at the lake.
What they could have done too is they could have
a couple of years back, I bumped into Crazy Ralph and we split a bottle at the bar and he kind of mentioned to me that that's how you do it.
Because Jason's not a supernatural entity, and even though the film was making him out to be one, what they could have just had is that Tommy's thinking was, he wants me. He wants to finally get to me. And that means he can go out on the boat in an attempt to drown Jason, because that's the best option. You're not going to be able to shoot him. You're not going to be able to, run him over or anything like that. so you can take him out.
Yeah.
So yeah, this just seemed like a silly decision to make because it kind of like insinuates that Jason he's a supernatural being and you can take care of that supernatural being by doing this. But as you said, plucked from his ass. You know, there's no reasoning behind why he did it.
Yeah, and I can sort of I can see why, because sometimes when you explain it, it ends up more ridiculous. Looking at Jason Goes to Hell, for example, kind of which way do you go? On balance, I think they probably made the right decision rather than going into large scale sort of things and trying to explain it. But a little bit of something about where you got it from, because he seemed to have books on the occult and things like that. So maybe he could have just said, "Yeah, it's on page 40. Check it out." Like that's where I got it from.
Yeah. It's in Dianetics. I read Dianetics. I believe that's how you're supposed to do it. Take care of it. Any more in 6? Because 6 is pretty lean for me.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, that was it.
Part 7. I mean, there's a bit here. I'd like to know why Maddie just gets dressed up after being told, look, you're not his type. You're a bit of an ugly duckling. She gets all dressed up, and next it cuts away, and we cut to her just wandering out the bush, yelling out that bloke's name. I can't remember his name now, but just randomly yelling out that fella's name. Like, so why did you think he was out there? Did anyone tell you if he was out there? Or did you just decide, I better get out there and see if he's out there? It's classic Friday, you know. Oh, we better get people separated. How do we do it? Oh, don't worry. Just wander out there.
Yeah. She'll just go for a walk.
And she basically she runs to like a, I don't know, cabin full of axes or something. He flies her in there and just kills her.
She stumbled across the Unger Institute's tool shed. There's some freshly sharpened axes to use, ready to go.
So I never quite understood that. I also had
I actually had one. This is a very minor one, but early on, they rock up and there's a shot of the lake. I think it's when Tina's a kid, maybe. I can't actually remember exactly where it was, but there's a shot of the lake. Dead set, it's about 2 foot deep. Like, if Jason's in there, he's only up to his waist. Having seen some other, when they show the lake in other parts, it looks like a fairly big body of water.
Yeah.
This one looks like a puddle.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure it all fit this time around, but yeah, that was a minor one. So back to what you were saying there, Adam.
This was more of a, it was kind of what the fuck, but it's more of a, when, you know how that girl says to the, the nerdy guy who's always wandering around crapping on about, Star Mummy and all that sort of bullshit that he goes on about. That dude. And then she comes along and she says to him, we should go upstairs. And then they cut back and he's trying to pleasure her, but it looks like he's like chewing on a thigh or something. He seems to be definitely in the wrong place. I'm just thinking, yeah, mate. Look, that you would have been waved. You would have got the tap.
Get out of there.
I just rewatched the movie Hall Pass, which, again, not a movie you need to rewatch, but there's a bit of line, I think he calls it fake chow. Which is when you use your fingers instead and you just make smacking sounds with your mouth off to the side. I think that's what was going on there. I'm also pretty confused by the fact that is it Crazy Ralph who's recapping the previous film? We get like an intro from I don't know why. I was just very confused. Like, why is Crazy Ralph doing all this? He was dead 4 movies ago, or what?
I don't know.
Just a peculiar decision.
It was a cutscene, Brandon. He's down at the pub going, waxing lyrical in the corner about Jason. And everyone's just like, shut up and get him out of here.
Yeah, the owner's saying, shut the fuck up, Ralph. We want people to stay tonight. Yeah. I need to sell some beer.
You've had enough now, mate.
Or a cutscene from 6 where maybe he was also hit by lightning and reawakened. Jason and Ralph live, and he comes back to tell the tale.
You hear Jason's kind of, I guess you'd call it his musical number, which is the And then you just
Yep.
hear, death curse.
You're all
Jason
doomed.
starts looking around going, oh shit, is he waking up
Fucking
again?
Ralph.
Do I have to kill him again?
Oh, no.
Part 7 has got a few others.
Yeah, I got one here. I think you've probably got a bit to add to this too. Sort of building on Part 5 again and how they're handling people there. I think Dr. Cruz is a doctor in the same sense that Dr. Death from the WWE was a doctor. I think they studied together because he flies off the handle pretty quickly as well. And I'm still not too sure what the treatment is here. Obviously, he's got the ulterior motives there, but yeah.
Was he trying to bring Jason back? That's kind of what I
think he was just trying to. I just got that he was trying to capitalise on Tina's powers so he could get famous off it or something like that.
Right.
I don't know what. It's very flimsy.
Yeah, and he also uses Tina's mom as a human shield, and should honestly get an assist in this murder because he's holding her arms back while Jason spears her.
Absolutely. And after that, there's also an amusing moment where when Tina's looking for her mum, Dr. Cruz, he seems like he's sort of trying to hide, but he's not really hiding. He's kind of just standing out in the open between two trees, and Tina comes past and he's like, Tina. It's like, everyone can see you. But yeah, he's that throwing Tina's mum as a human shield was absolutely top form from him.
And you know what though? That bloke played Bernie in Weekend at Bernie's, and he really needed to take that approach with Jason. Oh, I'm dead.
Yeah.
I'm already dead, mate. You don't need to pick me up.
Yeah, you got me. Don't you remember? It was back at the cabin B.
Yeah, you bloody brainless idiot. Yeah, you can break it out. Surely.
Oh, man.
All right, I think that's pretty much it for part 7, is it?
I think.
I've got a couple.
Yeah, keep them coming.
Got a couple more.
I'll throw a couple at you and see what you think about these. So we get a cat scare. There is a cat scare in part 7, but it seems as though the cat leaps out of a cupboard. Like someone opens a cupboard, the cat jumps out. Well, I've got some questions on how long the cat's been in the cupboard. There was another one about going back to Jason and sort of learning how to use things. How does he know how to start the weed whacker? That's another tool. I guess now that we know that he's capable of electrical wiring, I probably should strike that from the list. We know he could probably start a weed whacker.
Well, based on the remake, he could build it. He's very capable.
And the last one was not really a big one, but I felt it had to be mentioned. When Tina's getting loaded into the back of the car at the end,
yeah,
the younger EMT has a world-class mullet. It is one of the best I've seen. It was absolutely killing it. So I thought I had to give him a mention at the very least.
Of course.
And that was it for me.
Yeah, I think seven's. It has a few, but really, this is where the meat is. At part 8. Part 8.
Oh yeah.
I don't like. How did we get out of? What was the cruise ship? Was the cruise ship in Crystal Lake?
It seems like it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's got to be.
None of that shit makes
I mean,
any
if it's
sense.
going from Crystal Lake to somewhere like that, they were saying the people that were some of the creatives that were trying to explain it were saying, oh yeah, there must just be that there's an inlet to the ocean so I can get to New York or whatever. But as you said, Brandon, that doesn't explain a dock with the capacity to fucking load a cruise ship in Crystal Lake.
Yeah.
They're not small.
And how many people are on that ship? Because it's a big ship, allegedly.
Yeah. Where's the cost-benefit analysis here? The number of tickets you're selling is not enough to cover fucking food, fuel, all that sort of business. You're not making that cruise.
No. I mean, the idea was there was a heap more people. They show that kind of montage of people skeet shooting and all this kind of bullshit.
Yeah. But none of them were on the boat when it takes off.
They're supposed to say there's like a few hundred, I'm assuming, in the actual ship. Who are then decimated when it gets flooded. I mean, the ship doesn't really even go down. Like, there's no real.
So how come no one else? How come no one else walks past any of them or anything like that when they're on the boat?
Yeah.
It's only the school kids. The disco would have been packed. They would have been playing the Friday the 13th disco version, and the place would have been packed.
And nobody saw Jason or smelt him. Quite frankly, he would smell awful.
Someone did. It's funny that you mentioned that because we have our crazy Ralph.
Oh yeah,
and he seems to know because he goes. This was one of the bigger what the fucks for me is. He says before the boat takes off, "This voyage is doomed," and then he jumps on the boat. Like, what about self-preservation, buddy? You can say you're getting on there. I'm not.
Yeah. Yeah, the voyage is doomed. Oh, I need a paycheck.
Yeah. I mean, the original Crazy Ralph didn't say, the cab's got a death curse. Just wait a minute while I get my sleeping bag and I'll jump in the cab. Like, he's steering well away other than when curiosity gets the better of him in part 2. But this guy just jumped straight into the frying pan.
You missed that one of those Final Destination premonitions about shit that's about to go down, but can't change fate. Yeah.
Yeah, and he sort of the rest of the movie he has ample opportunity too. He spends his time wandering around telling everyone they're fucked, but doesn't jump in a lifeboat or something like that. Like, yeah,
especially when it starts to go down. Like,
yeah,
I'm taking the Billy Zane approach in Titanic.
I'm a child. I'm a child.
Get me out of here! I'm out of here.
Yeah,
but that is only the start of the the questions around this film. I don't quite understand the vision she continues to have of young Jason, and the whole idea that her asshole of an uncle pushed her into the water, and Jason grabbed her. I mean, I'm assuming it was mentally she'd sort of he'd been telling her that Jason grabs you if you can't swim. And it was just.
No, I thought it was Aqualad Jason that had survived for fucking 30 years under the water or whatever he did. Like, yeah, I don't know. That the whole visions thing was just, it was so bad. And Jason doesn't actually look like Jason.
No,
because he had hair.
The kid Jason. Yeah, he did. Yeah, it was a bit off.
Well, I just don't know what they were trying to accomplish there, and I think in the documentary, Rob Hedden's saying, we wanted to add some supernatural stuff to compete with Freddy. You're not supposed to compete with Freddy with this type of shit.
Yeah.
That's
right.
Your bread and butter is killing people in interesting ways, and that's it. I mean, I guess the series was kind of sort of backed into a corner somewhat by trying to take this approach that then didn't work.
Well, sounds like one person was backing them into a corner there, or a couple of people discussing that.
Yes. Okay, so where does... surely, Brandon, you can shed some light on this. Where's the toxic waste coming from? Where is provide us with some schematics and details of New York City subway sewage systems.
Yeah, it's well-known fact that every night at midnight, the sewers of New York are flooded with toxic waste. This is how the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were created, guys. We know this, yeah. What I'm a little confused by, just a little, is why this toxic sludge then turns Jason into a baby boy again. Or into, like, for a while there, he's a crusty critter, like a gross... the effects there are just disgusting.
He vomits on command for no reason as well. Like, I don't know. He sort of goes, "Mummy?" What's the point of that?
Well, as you said, he'd been trying to escape. His mother's kind of demanding and overbearing presence for so long. He thought he'd seen her and just vomited everywhere.
Yeah. He saw her coming towards him, going, "Have you cleaned your room?" I mean, if you can see his little shack out in part 2, he definitely hasn't cleaned his room. But so the toxic sludge is a absolute head scratcher. I mean, if that's what you cook up to kill him, you really needed to have a good hard look at yourself. I mean, even on the page, on the page, you're going to be looking at that and going, that's got a lot of questions that I haven't answered. I haven't bothered to answer. Maybe I shouldn't do it.
I don't know what it was, but if it was Chud or what our fascination was with sewer grates and green vapors in this time, but like all of New York City, there's just vats of toxic sludge lying around this entire fucking city. Behind every dumpster is a vat of toxic sludge that you could throw someone in or threaten to shoot heroin into them against. It's just this city itself's a what the fuck moment.
I mean, who is choosing that as their getaway destination when you live in idyllic Crystal Lake? Let's go to New York and fucking die of toxic fumes. That's great.
It's so bad that the opening montage, the 80s music montage with the credits, has junkies beating people up underneath it, like robbing them and stuff. It's like, no way do I want to go there.
God. They were going to New York, correct? They were going. The actual class was going to New York. It wasn't that the boat went down and they turned up at New York randomly. I think they were going to New York.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, I can't really remember it very well because it was so shitty.
It's a fever dream, yeah.
Poorly put together. I didn't realise what they were doing, but
yeah, I felt like I'd been overcome by toxic fumes after watching it. So.
God, there's a lot of questions. I have another one. When Tamara pushes Rennie off the ship, comes up and gives her a light shoulder charge and goes, "Oh, I didn't see you there." There is no railings of any kind.
OSHA would have a real problem with this.
I mean, again,
that's not what you do.
There's a lawsuit on hand. So
you don't just dive in after a reader on a cruise ship. You are lost at sea.
That's right. And someone's having a big night at the disco and wandering upstairs and just stumbling over the edge. It's another lawsuit waiting to happen. I actually had one about Uncle Charles. I mean, there's a lot of questions about this man. But the biggest one I had was, again, comes down to his decision making. When he tells the kids, don't pull the fire alarm because it'll cause a panic. 5 minutes before, from what I could tell, just about everyone on the ship was crowded into at the scene of a double murder, which after that they all took off and armed up to dispense some vigilante justice. So I'm pretty sure the panic's already fucking set in, mate. It's the decent thing to do to pull the alarm, isn't it? To alert anyone that wasn't there, which was very few people. Everyone saw the double murder.
It's disastrous, this film.
It is.
It's harder to look at now. Looking back at it, like only a few days ago, is just to sort of say, well, I remember thinking this was all right when I was a young bloke. And looking back,
nothing makes you hate your younger self more.
As I said to you, mate, I purchased a couple of them when I started buying the DVDs of the series. I was just picking up the singles, and on DVD I had the original Part 6 and Part 8. So I don't know how did that make the top 3 that I selected off the rack, because I'm pretty sure they were all available. Maybe it was the advertising again. I had seen it by this point too. So what was I doing?
Yeah, I mean, because genuinely, that's my biggest what the fuck moment of this entire movie is, when you look at the runtime of your DVD player and it says an hour and 5 minutes, and they're finally getting off this fucking boat to get to New York. The promise of this movie in an 80-something minute long movie, finally I get to see him in Manhattan. Holy shit!
I mean, you only see Manhattan for what? Actual Manhattan.
Manhattan, maybe 10 minutes, not even, really? 8?
I think it's even less, because I think it's really only those couple of shots, those couple of sweeping shots where they come up out of the subway. The rest of it is in Vancouver.
Toxic sludge.
Basically, Lord. Jared, you were spot on. It was absolute false advertising.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
I would have left it on the cruise ship. and just made it that.
I just wanted to bring up Jason's stellar swimming stroke in the open ocean. I mean, the fact that he makes it to the shore, he should be competing in the fucking Hawaiian Ironman or something with a stroke like that to make it back there.
I always thought he was walking along the bottom of the
to make progress.
ocean.
Yeah, like those Pirates of the Caribbean skeletons.
He's just wandering along the bottom of the ocean. Da-da-da,
yeah. He's
I'll
obviously
get there
very
eventually.
comfortable there. I did.
Yeah. I'm sure I'll come across something soon.
Yeah. You also mentioned, Adam, about teleporting Jason, how this is probably the worst example of it. There's one in particular when they're in the subway, and I probably need to watch it again, but it appeared that he was killing the uncle in the subway car behind them, and then when they exit the subway car, he appears in front of them. So there was a couple like that where it was just like really bad examples of Jason just popping from one spot to another. And as you said, it probably explains it that they were trying to go with the supernatural element there. I know they did mention that they weren't paying as much attention to that sort of stuff and were purposely doing it on at certain points. But yeah, that was another bad decision, I think.
Actually, yeah, part 8's the worst of the lot for that. And Jason always cops this kind of stick about how he teleports all the time and gets it. But in most of the others, he doesn't. If you look closely at it, he doesn't. Yeah, in part 8, when he's chasing the mute guy who never speaks, who seems to be standing around with the main male protagonist, who runs and then climbs up the mast, he teleports twice in like 2 seconds or something. 2 different scenes where he just appears standing there, and then he climbs the mast, and then boom, he teleports up the mast and grabs him and throws him off. It's like,
I know you expect a degree of that, but this one just didn't even bother to make it anything. Yeah.
All right, on to Jason Goes to Hell.
Oh dear.
Why does Creighton Duke, when he mentions Jason Voorhees, think of a young girl in a pink dress putting a hot dog through a donut? And the look on the bloke's face is like, what the fuck are you talking about?
It's so weird,
man.
I mean, I'm assuming that's an ad-lib or something.
No, the book suggests that was on the page because Stephen Williams says, I don't know what they were talking about. Because he does seem like the sort of guy to ad-lib. He sort of seems like the type of guy that would just sort of go off script a little bit, and I think a lot of the decisions about like the way Creighton Duke looks are down to him.
Yeah,
but yeah, seemingly that was in the script. So
there's a lot of those bizarre lines in there. There's one comment by, I think this is actually the director, Adam Marcus, as the coroner, who says something like, You know what I'd like to do? I'd like to take a crap right on your fucking mask. It's so weird to use the F word and the word crap in the same sentence. It's so weird to me.
Yeah.
I'd like to take a crap on your mask.
He follows it up with a
I think he kind of succeeded
crap
in some ways.
Well, that's a big crap. You can't be 100% sure you're going to deliver that size every time, mate. Yeah, you got to take it easy. There's a fair bit of that. These weird lines that kind of don't really fit. The whole thing about the guy that's being shaved, like tied down and shaved. Yep. There's no real information as to why that would occur. Like,
yeah,
because
and Jason took the time. So he was also kind of in a state of sort of semi undressed too, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So Jason took the time to put his clothes back on to blend in, rather than just continue with his mission, which is more of a Jason thing to do. Just, I'm ready to go. Yeah, I've got a couple of questions.
The bloke's in his boxers and a singlet. Like, it's not a good look. Like, all round, it's not a good look.
And you listen to the creators in the documentary, and they don't even seem to know why it's in there. It just seems to be like a shock value moment that they just like, we want to do something different and weird, and it's like, well, why? I just don't get it.
Yeah, if you want to do something a little bit different and weird, do it as, you know, when Jason's killing somebody or something like that. That's where you get your creative outlets to have a bit of a play with that sort of stuff. Or do it with a character like Jimmy. Don't do it with a bloke strapped down, getting shaved and violated.
So they can, do the little like puppet master out the mouth worm thing that I've always found gross.
Yeah.
It does, as you said, as you said, Brandon. It does look a lot like a turd when it's coming out.
It's just gross. And all the sound effects they're making, like.
I was also sort of taken aback by Richard. It's not a knock on Richard Gere because I think he's pretty good, but the fucking fervour that he devours that heart with. Like,
oh my gosh!
How he sort of gets taken over and then he kind of starts like twitching and then he just fucking goes for it.
It blows up like a gusher too. They're all gross. All this heart eating.
All this black shit's flying out of the heart.
Yeah.
Oh. I must admit, I always get a giggle out of his comment into the little dictaphone that he's working with, where he says, "My opinion, this guy's dead in shit." Then he goes, "Yeah, strike that from the record." The other one about in Jason Goes to Hell, it's always. I'm unsure of is breaking the guy's fingers for information. I don't really get the price.
Yeah,
we're supposed to be killing this thing. I need my hands.
Correct.
I don't need to be one-handed because you want you want to give me some info. I mean,
exactly. It seems like Duke knows where this needs to go. So he needs, hopefully an able-bodied sort of, or as able-bodied as possible in this situation. You don't take a bloke with a hand that's working fine and fucking destroy it. He can help you, Duke. Not sure about that.
He keeps saying, but it comes at a very heavy price. Whereas I'm going, just tell me, you fucking idiot.
Okay.
Stop fucking around.
If we can get back out the front, my wallet's out there. Can I pay the price that way? Will you take a 20? It's sort of Duke also does a bit of Jason style morphing. When he gets out of the cell, he seems to make pretty fast tracks to the diner. Compared to when you see how the two leads get out and then they're getting chased, and Duke gets out there as well, manages to get the kid and piss off before any of that goes down. So I reckon he's got a few tricks up his sleeve too.
Well, he does have a I don't know, sword and sorcery style dagger in his possession.
Correct.
I'm sure he's probably got a few things up his sleeve.
Maybe a hot dog and a donut too.
Yeah, well, that's the information I'm giving him. He's breaking my fingers. Well, I think of it as a hot dog.
So weird. That's a television interview, too. They're asking him about him.
Yeah, that's what it should have been. You're next to a bloke who's rambling absolute nonsense in the prison cell. He breaks your fingers and then he says, I think of a girl, in a dress with a hot dog and a donut.
I still don't know what he thinks of Jason,
realistic scenario. Yeah.
He doesn't even provide an answer to the question.
Yeah.
He just kind of bombs it off.
Yeah, but he just goes and sits down again.
If I'm Stephen and he's broken two of my fingers, and he goes, I just think of Jason as a little girl putting a hot dog through a donut. I'm going, oh shit, this guy's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
He actually did not have any information to give me. He just alluded.
Yeah, he just wanted to break my fingers. Getting into the mythology a little bit, and this is going to raise quite a few here. Why is Jason able to talk only when it's sort of required? Because he's never spoken before. He just kind of grunts occasionally. Other than obviously when he was reformed to a child in part 8, maybe that's where they got it from that he can speak. But he speaks. Can't remember who it is. It's when he takes over the news reporter, isn't it? He speaks.
No, it's when he takes over the cop, the young cop, I think, or one of the cops.
Yeah, That's right.
They
And
both speak to her about giving
at
him
the
a
end,
kid.
yeah. At the end, he speaks as well to try and throw her off the scent. So again, where did this come from? Because it's still, I'm assuming it's still Jason, but I don't know.
That's the assumption I've got.
I don't know.
Considering every time he walks past a mirror or any sort of reflective surface, you can see him. So I don't know. I'm not sure where that comes from. I also don't understand where his sister and everything came from. And
I've got another big query around that one. So they only really mention it's got to be a Voorhees woman. We find out it doesn't have to be a living Voorhees woman.
That's right.
So why didn't he just go to the cemetery again? And dig up Mum or something? We know where her grave is. It's by the side of the road in part 4. So it's easily accessible. So that was another.
I think
that
would have been a cool.
Did work.
That would have been a cool wrinkle, the whole idea that he uses his mother to become reborn. Like that would have actually been an interesting element if you went that way.
Would have made just as much sense as this did.
This hodgepodge of bullshit that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay. You got any others?
Oh yeah, I've got a couple more.
I feel
Brandon, have you got any over there before I dig into these last couple? Or?
Yeah, my last one really was just this whole I'll have a Voorhees burger and a side of Jason fingers. The fact that they monetized this serial killers. I don't know. It'd be like going to get to Denny's and they're like, "You want a Ted Bundy ham over ham and eggs?" Or it's just ridiculous. I don't know.
Yeah, not sure about the sales tactics there.
No.
Yeah, I also I'm glad you brought it up yesterday, but when she gets punched in the face, that sort of the way she looked afterwards was just it could only induce laughs, not scares.
It looks like claymation on her face. Yeah.
Yep. So the last couple that I had were the last one really, I suppose. I know I'm not going to get an answer here, but if Jason is reborn at the end, why isn't he somewhat freshened up? Because he comes back as the same rotting fucking lump that he was beforehand.
What a raw deal.
Not only that, he's in the same torn clothes and stuff that he was when he got blown up. It's just, you'd think if you were going to the effort to be reborn, you might do a Jason X style. Yeah, he's back and he's worse than he was before, Yeah.
Thankfully, the creatives got their shit together and righted that wrong in the sequel here coming up.
So it was another one with the mythology where it's just like, okay, so he comes back, but he's still, got the same torn clothes he's been wearing for the last 25 years, and he's still got all the same scars and burns and everything. Yeah, I was just looking at it when he burst out of the ground. Initially, it was like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool, and then it was kind of like, hang on a minute, nothing's reborn here.
Yeah.
So that was that one for me, and I think that's it for me. What are your thoughts on the little Jason worm? How it looked, other than when it came out of the mouth and looked like a turd, when it was scurrying along the floor.
Yeah, no, not a fan. I did like the Cronenberg melting effects of the bodies when they're that looked pretty good. I did like that a lot. But when it's this little fucking bug creature running around on the floor, not my Jason.
Whole thing,
no,
and that whole thing when it gets out there and it scurries down and sees the dead mother.
Oh yeah,
and then just shoots up between her legs. It's like, oh,
that wasn't nice, no.
Fellas.
Yeah, we've done enough of that. Part 3 took care of that.
She wasn't aware of any of that. And,
that's right.
When she finally saw the film, she was like, oh, she felt violated.
I went too. Yep.
Yeah. I was the question I had on her was, why were you even watching it? I just ticked that box, taken the paycheck, and disappeared on that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm out. Take your money and run.
All right, well, let's move on to you guys' favourite film. This is an X.
Let's do it. There's not much to talk about.
There's only one big...
Almost perfect.
Well, the good thing this one has in its favour is that it's all set in the future.
Yeah.
So you can write off a lot of that sort of shit, like it's all just acceptable that it's a futuristic film. The question I've got that I'd like some clarification on is when we see the teacher in a pink teddy having his nipples clamped by one of his students, that he proceeds to finish with, "You pass."
Yeah, he's getting like his nipples pinched with some like future tongs or something. Yeah, that professor, what a guy. He only wants his machete.
Top plate.
Oh, God. Yeah, he was a bit of a shocker. In a way, it is kind of funny because, again, it's sort of a subversion of. You can see where they were trying to go, but yeah, when he sang out "You Pass," it was sort of whatever you were going for has just burst off into a cloud of smoke. There, it's just gone.
I don't remember the character's name, but there's that one lady whose lover is stabbed in front of her, and then she's kind of gone for a bit of it, and then she comes back to she's in a pod, and they're trying to talk her out of it, and for no reason at all, she just essentially kills herself, just drives the pod into another, it all explodes and shit, but her whole reaction to everything is, she shuts right down, and I don't know, she's already pissed me off, and then something that we gloss over, and I think if you were to, really crunch the numbers, this movie must have by far the most deaths in it, because at one point they drive that ship accidentally through that entire colony of humans, I'm assuming like a space station where everyone must be killed in there, and no one talks about it again, but these guys, they've murdered, thousands were killed then.
Yeah, and he actually, on screen, he goes through more than I actually remembered. He goes through that whole sort of Colonial Marines rip-off team. He rips through 6 or 7 of them. Yeah, destroys that city. He must have killed bloody thousands of people on that thing. So,
but I love the fact that, as you say, Brandon, it's just kind of like, whoops.
Exactly. It's like a steering. I hit a cone driving down the road. It's like, oh shit. Well.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. Don't look back. the colony's gone, mate.
Yeah. There's no discussion about what do we say when we get back. No, just don't say anything. It wasn't us.
We're students. We're students, mate. They should have left us in charge.
Yes, exactly. I got a WTF about the science lab at the start, as you brought it up before, Adam. But what looks like a very hefty research facility at Crystal Lake. I want to know why we established it there. I guess the population is not very large. You're not finding many scientists down there. I guess the rent's cheap.
Last time I checked, Crystal Lake was a party town.
Yeah.
Wasn't where you stuck a research facility.
Yeah. No wonder Jason got out.
The place.
Yeah, no wonder Jason got out. You're hiring people that are bloody high and stoned and expecting them to be able to chain him up properly. But yeah, again, my mind wandered. I thought, well, what are the pluses to having a research facility here? So the rent was cheap for the scientists, but then I thought to myself, imagine being the poor bastard that runs Crystal Lake real estate. Calling people up, calling up landlords going, sorry, mate, we've lost another tenant. Yeah, we're decapitated this time. I guess the positive is we don't have to replace any windows. He just kicked the door down this time. So if you could just sling me some money for that, we'll get you all sorted. Get another lot of campers down here for the weekend.
Yeah, you are pushing shit uphill to get people into your accommodations and your condos and stuff around the joint.
Yeah, definitely.
You've really got to sell.
I also love how in 400 years in the future, they still all know who Jason Voorhees is. The guy on the phone's
That's
like,
right.
hang on a second. I think that sounds familiar.
Yeah. If they researched it...
400 years in the future, Jason Voorhees is a spec, mate.
Yeah, if they researched it and found some information, you're kind of like, you can buy that. You could have done that pretty quickly with all their technology, just like, hey Siri, search Jason Voorhees. But the fact that guy goes, hang on a minute, did you say Voorhees?
They double down on it like it's still a big deal, yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome.
For me, my last little one, this is, I guess, just some stupid world building that they throw in a sentence, but I had to like stop and say, like, wait, what did they just say? And one of the guys says, hey, you're lucky you weren't alive during the Microsoft conflict. Hell, we were beating each other with our own severed limbs. What horse shit is this? What are you talking about? Such a dumb throwaway line.
Yeah, I guess it explains why they have such little regard for the thousands of lives they fucking took 20 minutes before.
We lived through the Microsoft conflict. That's nothing, yeah.
Yeah, it's just a couple of thousand. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
The Microsoft conflict was tens of thousands.
It's like a war, yeah.
Again, another throwaway line that has kind of taken on something different with age is when Cronenberg's in there, he talks about transferring Jason. He says they're going to transfer him to Scranton. So immediately I'm thinking,
he thought of The Office?
Friday the 13th, we've got a crossover happening here. Jason takes The Office. Like,
yeah. He's gonna get transferred to a paper mill. Is that what?
Yeah.
Paper.
Yeah.
He's gonna be sitting next to Creed or one of those guys.
So imagine that, just having the talking head in every episode, and it's just Jason sitting there with, saying nothing, and then we cut to the next person.
I love that. Yeah.
The last one I had was there's only a little bit of it, but this film has more discussion about Jason's dick than I ever needed. When the two students are getting sort of hot and heavy right next to the bloody thawing corpse, the girl says, "I bet he's hung like a mammoth." I wasn't thinking about that, but hey, that's where your mind's going. Yeah.
Look, some of the dialogue's atrocious in Jason X, and as you said before, Brandon, they're trying to do this world building by saying stupid things like that about the Microsoft conflict, and they're trying to, a lot of it doesn't particularly work.
Yeah, it's all half-assed.
There is some sparkling dialogue though, like I'm a bitch.
Oh yeah,
I'm a bitch when I get up or whatever. And the guy says, "Did you just get up?" That's one of my favourite lines in the series because he wasn't wrong. Janessa was a bitch. So.
Hey, do you want a beer or do you want to smoke some pot? Or we can have some premarital sex. We love premarital sex.
Oh man. Come on, Adam.
Right,
you want to get on board. You're missing out.
Look, I'm more on board than I used to be. I can hate the movie. I've thawed on it.
I gotta say, this was the first one I was old enough to see in the cinemas. So me and two of my dopey mates that are of a similar kind of mindset, we went in and watched it, and there was like two other people in the cinema. And we were laughing our asses off through the whole, the line that Brodsky delivers about the poke in the ribs. Yep, that ought to do it. We just fucking burst out laughing. And then they did the sleeping bag one, and just about all three of us were almost in the aisle rolling with laughter. And one of the two other people in the cinemas was looking at us like, what's wrong with you guys? And then on the way out, the other guy was like, that was fucking hilarious, wasn't it? And we were just like, yeah, mate, you know where it's at. So yeah, that's part of the reason for my fondness was this was the first one I could check out in the cinema.
Nostalgia. Yeah.
But yeah.
All right, let's tie it all up with the remake. The biggest thing for me, because I think that, once again, the remake actually does a reasonable job of keeping it, I guess, present day as normal as you could possibly get it. E.g., Jason is the way he is. He's running and all those things. But I just can't understand. The tunnels. Yes, they mentioned the fact that there's a disused mine around here. I don't know why there would be a disused mine right next to a fucking summer camp. It's beyond me. But the amount of work to put the electrics in there, I mean, it's not... You don't just turn up and start turning the lights on.
You're contracting that out.
Yeah, that's a crew. You actually have to bypass into the electricity that's nearby. You got to get up on the pole. There's a lot of work there.
the more that I've watched it over the years, I've looked at it and I've kind of developed this kind of story in my head that it looks like he's just stripped the camps and done all the work with what was in the camps.
Sure.
But you're right, Adam, that still requires a bit of a leap onto where he's running it from. Has he just nipped into someone's backyard and fucking piggybacked off their electricity or something?
Or someone sending him a bill, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's somebody in Crystal Lake, probably that old lady, I reckon, who's getting a bill every month going, Jesus Christ, can we turn the heating down a little bit because this bill's just getting higher and higher?
Yeah, how did I get 3 times a bill 3 times as expensive as the previous one? Someone's working it out. Working out that he's piggybacking off something or he's attached himself somewhere.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't make sense. Like, it should have been like, I mean, this sounds stupid, but it should have been like candles and shit like that.
Well, if you go with the survivalist angle, the shack from part 2 makes way more sense.
Yeah.
I actually reckon that was a better fit, just have him do what he was doing there. And the fact that he was it looked like he was living in not living, but the old house looked like it was the Voorhees house where they found the bed with Jason on it and that sort of thing. It would have made more sense that he was just fucking hanging out there.
Well, I think we're forgetting his biggest means of funds. He's got a giant ass marijuana field out back that he's tending to, and he's selling on the side for these kids or whatever's going on. That's how he's funding this operation. Yeah,
that's right. Maybe he might be trading some for the electrical work. Let's keep it off the books. Yeah, I'll just give you a couple of bags. You wire up a couple of lights. How's that work for you?
He's in it with Donnie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Jason killed Donnie over a drug death.
Well, you've just hit on that. You've nailed it there, Brandon, because Donnie does offer some drugs.
He does, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, Jason just, cut a few off the side for me, and there you go. That's yours, mate.
Yeah. Well, that's true. That's what he could be doing.
I mean, Donnie, we'll get to him, but
below the radar.
Donnie himself is really a WTF moment for this entry. It's just his demeanor, what he's doing to this mannequin. There's a line of dialogue that suggests he lost his virginity to it.
Good.
And then I wrote one down verbatim, and I actually rewound it to make sure I was getting it right. But he says, "Oh, I'm gonna fucking pound you so hard to the mannequin." Oh my god, he's just got some awesome lines though. Because he does offer Clay, I think it is the supernatural guy there. He does offer him some drugs, but when he's first startled by him, and he's like, "You're fucking lucky there, Stretch. Came that close to hitting the start button on the whoop ass machine, boy." Donnie.
I must say one thing they got right about Donnie is that he's hanging out by himself.
Thankfully, yes. No, exactly. If this gross guy exists, at least he's doing this to inanimate objects.
Exactly, yeah. That's just, you're only hurting yourself, Donnie.
Yeah.
I didn't bring this up either when we talked about the remake itself, but I actually think they got the Crazy Ralph type character pretty right, like the old woman.
Oh yes, yeah.
Where he says, "Have you seen her?" And she says, "She's not missing. She's dead."
Yep.
Yeah.
He just wants to be left alone, and she leaves it. They leave it real vague and stuff like that. But it's got a bit of sort of a menacing quality to it.
Yeah.
I think they actually got that right.
It was better,
which is surprising because a lot of those soothsayer type of characters don't really work.
The only thing I didn't like was he just wants to be left alone. I'm kind of like, you could have left it at she's dead and been even more vague, because that makes it seem like
he just wants to be left alone.
Well, that makes it seem like
to buy 2 ounces of marijuana.
It seems like Jason's
like
got
to buy
this.
A couple of bags of mull. He'll sell it to you.
It makes it seem like she's got some uneasy truce with Jason. That if she's out walking that dog and she stumbles across Jason, she just goes, "I'll go this way, you go that way," and Jason's like, off they go.
Or it's her electricity he's stealing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we've cut a deal. I'm getting high every night. I'm high as shit right now. That's why I can't talk to you.
Because Because Donnie mentions someone stealing the kerosene,
That's right. Yeah.
doesn't
yeah,
he?
Yeah.
and that's Jason.
Yeah.
Which is good.
That's why
That
he
sort of
turned
stuff.
up.
I thought that was one of
Yeah.
the things the remake did
Believable.
really well. Was they had it like people were somewhat aware. Donnie not because he's as dumb as shit, but he was like, yeah, someone's stealing damn kerosene every day, but I'm still going to leave it where it was. but yeah, they mostly got that right for sure. I've got a little question about, so as a whole, I like the way that they kind of rushed through the setup, that they gave the nods to the original but went straight to Jason. Why didn't Jason just say, Mum, I'm here. I got out. Before that girl cuts your head off, I made it out safely, just so you know. And also, if nothing has, I guess with the old woman and that, they explain that some things have taken place before then, but it seems like everyone knows that Jason was watching her, which would make it seem like somebody was watching Jason watch her.
Oh, yeah, to tell the tale, yeah.
Jason was upset
Yes.
because he saw his mum get killed, so that was a little bit kind of, hang on a minute, but yeah, overall I did like the way they did it. I think it was better to just go through it quickly and sort of move on.
Any other WTF moments on this one?
I just had
Other
one
than
last
Trent.
one. Yeah, I was going to say Trent in general is just, we could do a whole hour or two on that guy, but I think it's Chewie or one of these side characters who says, the girl's dancing on the table, and he looks over to the other guy and he says, in my next life, I want to come back as one of the buttons on the ass pocket of her jean shorts. Like, why? Why? Out of anything you can come back, you want to come back as a button on? It's just such a dumb thing to say.
Yeah.
It doesn't. I think the other guy kind of pulls him on for it. I'm like, why would you want to do that? I must admit, I couldn't quite understand the whole thing with the bloke. Not couldn't quite understand it, but found it kind of vaguely out of place. Where the bloke's looking to pleasure himself, and he can't seem to find any sort of materials other than a fucking winter catalogue.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, mate, that's when you say, yeah, it's not happening tonight.
Yeah, but he's also doing it in the living room.
In the living room, yeah. Bold. A lot of windows around, too, guy. Very bold.
I mean, we're worried about Donnie, sorry. We've got this bloke who's willing to just drop his old fella out in the middle of the living room and go to work. Like, he might be the biggest scumbag of the two, come to think of it.
Yes, definitely. Any others?
That was all for me.
Same.
All right. Find the podcast at Podomatic or on iTunes. Don't forget to rate and review. Like us on Facebook at Thrill Me Podcast Australia or contact us at thrillme, all one word, all lowercase, at iinet.net.au.